Supercharged Dusty Crophopper is an item that I'm honestly kind of mixed on. I'm not going to fully get into it here since I have a pretty notable section of my upcoming Planes retrospective dedicated to talking about Supercharged Dusty and all the upgrades Dusty gets throughout the movies and my feelings on that from a story perspective as well as a visual perspective. But for now, I'll just say I am kind of mixed on the concept, and when it comes to Supercharged Dusty's design, I'm also kind of mixed on that. This is Dusty after he has an absolutely massive wreck, and all of the other planes come together to fix him up. That is one of my favorite things in the movie. I love seeing all the racers that Dusty helps along the way kind of fix him up and get him fixed, and the result is, of course, this design, which is a very unique cobbling together of a bunch of different parts. And how does it work? Well, that's where I'm kind of mixed on this visually. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of Supercharged Dusty. I absolutely love the concept of an item that's cobbled together with all these different parts. You know, the front engine is different and is kind of this unpainted silver, which is super cool. He has these new military-style wings. There are some other pieces on him. These parts have been replaced as well compared to the original. And while I think that is super cool, I feel like this item kind of doesn't go all the way with the concept. Something I'll get into in just a minute. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another review and to another Planes diecast review. Today, of course, we're going to be taking a look at Supercharged Dusty Crophopper. Now, you may be looking at this review and thinking, Ty, I don't remember a poll where Supercharged Dusty Crophopper won. And you're right, I didn't remember it either, but it turns out all the way back in November, I did a poll asking you guys what car from the haul Robin sent me should be reviewed next. Since I plan to review Shifty Sidewinder in November, which of course didn't happen until just a few weeks ago, and I put up the Dusty poll to be the next review after that, and yeah, Dusty won. I put up a poll. He was the winner, and I'm nothing if not a man of my word, I guess, because turns out I put up a poll that this won back in November, and I just wanted to make sure it was still the next car from the Robin haul I reviewed for the sake of consistency. Almost done with the Robin haul. For the record, of course, those are cars he sent me all the way back in May of last year for my birthday, but I've had so many reviews to do that they've taken quite a while to get through. Super generous of him to do that. But because of that, because it's taken me so long to review these items, Supercharged Dusty is something I've had in my collection for quite a while, and I'm pretty sure I featured him in more than one video. He was the Dusty that we used for Cars Christmas Chaos, so he's one that I've definitely gotten a bit more used to than a lot of the other Robin hauls, which are still awaiting a time in which they're all placed fully and completely into my collection. Now, as far as Dusties go, I will say this is a pretty great looking model, and it's a great design in terms of how different it is from the original. You can really tell that this is the sort of upgraded form of Dusty. They went out of their way to make it consistent with the movie, where all of these pieces are different with these different wings, with these big parts on the end. Again, these are the sort of military wings El Chu gives him. I especially love the fact that the positioning of the wheels on the bottom has completely changed thanks to these new wings and all the new parts on the bottom of him. We have this little black area, which I'm not the biggest fan of the design of. I definitely prefer how it looks here on the original. I just feel like it goes outwards a bit too much. But I know these wings were, I believe, based on actual planes, so it is pretty cool. See that. Then we have the silver engine up top, which is pretty cool looking, and I'm gonna have a hot take right now. I think that this looks better on the diecast than it does in the movie, and I know that's a super weird thing to say, but I think that the metallic design here works way better than the movie design. The engine on the diecast looks honestly quite a bit bigger than the engine on original Dusty, and in the movie it does just look like sort of silver plating. I think that the sort of darker gunmetal gray color they went with on the diecast looks a lot better and more different types of lighting than the metal does on Dusty in the movie. And that's not a knock against Planes animation. Planes' animation isn't the best, but it is perfectly fine, I think. I just think that this honestly does a better job with that metallic effect than the movie does. Maybe because this is actually metal. I don't know. That's not really why. I don't think. I just think that the texturing on that in the movie could maybe look a little cooler in different scenarios. I think it's more striking and stands out more here on the diecast. I like that they still put the logo here on Dusty's nose. He, of course, also has the 4-point propeller that was donated from Oshani. More nice little engine details there as well. 3 of these sort of exhaust pieces coming together compared to just one on the original Dusty. Number 7 here on the side. Paint job is basically the same. Eye expression, I think, is pretty good as well. Pretty standard Dusty face, but one that I think is much more in character than the original. I think I've talked about in the past how little I like the racer Dusty face. It just doesn't look like a face he'd make. This is pretty on point as a pretty solid Dusty expression. He's even sort of doing this kind of determined grin down with the mouth there, and I love that. I love they even molded like dimples in there. Looks pretty good, pretty in character in my opinion. On to the back. Again, these parts have been replaced as well, and I wish that this was metallic because it looks really, really awkward in just the regular gray. But it seems that Dusty's tail, has it been like entirely redone? Because it, of course, does get damaged as well. It looks a little bit shorter. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't quite tell. I don't think it's meant to be shorter. I think that Dusty is just... Is this Dusty just a little shorter because of the different pieces? Yeah, the size and shape is just a little bit different because of the replacement parts. This does look to be a little shorter, but I'm just thinking maybe because the wheels are different, he's a bit closer to the ground. I can't quite tell, but this is where my complaint for this Dusty sort of starts to come in. I really, really like the concept of this cobbled together item, like I was saying earlier. But I also said earlier that I don't think it works because it feels like they don't go all the way. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that this part in the front is very striking, right? It's very, very different, very notably different, completely different color, unpainted, looks like they at the last minute had to put it on Dusty. And none of the rest of him looks like that. These parts on the ends of the wings are orange. They've been painted to match the Dusty color scheme. On the back here, on his tail, we have the D7 spray painted back onto it over the replaced part. Same with the blue here. Dusty got this whole new coat of paint. In fact, the blue stripe even goes here over the silver engine part. And I really don't think that that works. I really like the concept of this being a cobbled together item, but if you could go out of your way and have the time to paint these parts of Dusty to match, why not just paint this? Of course, that's something we later see with his design in the Plane sequel, where Dusty's new look, of course, is this, but painted over in orange. I really like that concept of the cobbling together, but then they painted over it. And I wish they'd kept these as like their original colors, so it's sort of this whole patchwork design. If you were a Thomas collector, if you are, you probably know of Patchwork Hero from Hero of the Rails, which I don't remember that movie very well, but it's from a part where they're fixing up that character. And he has all these different colors as they find random replacement parts. I think a look like that would have been a lot better than kind of going halfway and being like, yeah, well, this part's very different. We're going to keep it different, but we are going to paint the blue stripe on there, and we're going to paint this, and we're going to print over that. I think just making it fully cobbled together would have worked a bit better. But other than that, I do think it works as a pretty unique Dusty design, and definitely a very striking one that shows just how much of Dusty has had to be changed for him to race, how much he's dedicated himself, and now he's more machine now than plain. But yeah, definitely a different, interesting look for the character. Like I said, I'll talk about that a bit more in my Planes retrospective, which should be coming soon. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.